There we go. It's a Monday morning. It's April 21st, 2025, 6:01 in the morning. This is Up North News Radio, but only for a couple more days. And then we've got a name change. We go for a longer period from 6 to 9 instead of 6 to 8. That is all supposed to start on Wednesday. Looking forward to it. Hope you are too. Coming up today, a little bit more subdued than we had originally planned with the passing of Pope Francis overnight. So we'll talk about his legacy. We will visit with Dr. Kristen Lyerly. We will have Selena Heller here to talk about the importance of cancer research. You shouldn't even have to talk about the importance of cancer research, but in this era of budget cuts, we have to. And then coming up at 7:30, author Laura Bird will be along to talk to us about Independent Bookstore Day coming up this day, and how you can celebrate and support your local independent bookstore. It's about so much more than buying a book. All that plus Greg Bach, Brittany Merlot at the forecast, Jane Matinaire, all coming up at 6:06 all across the Civic Media Radio Network and right here. We'll see you soon. On Tuesday, a discussion of the harm
from Civic Media. This is Up North News Radio. Now, live from our Lake Wissota studio, here's the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Brightlow.
Well, hey there, Wisconsin. Good morning. It is 6:06 on this Monday morning, April 21st, 2025. Another beautiful but wet morning to have you here up north, live from Lake Wissota. From wherever you're listening across the Civic Media Radio Network. You might be listening on the app instead, or catching us here on Facebook or YouTube, or on demand by podcast. We appreciate you starting your day and your week right here. I got a question for you. Did you find the right limit when it came to Easter candy and Easter ham and everything else? Or like me, did you overdo it and got yourself a tummy ache? Hopefully it was a good weekend for you. It was a family-filled weekend for us, and we couldn't be more thankful about that. And so we turn our attention now toward a new work week where some changes are coming to this show and to this whole radio lineup that you listen here on across the Civic Media Radio Network. We'll talk more about that. We will, of course, get to the breaking news overnight. It's a bit of a more subdued Monday morning than we were planning, but with the news of the passing of Pope Francis, we will talk a bit about his life, his legacy, and the church. Because whether we like it or not, we live in a world now where the public discourse is dominated by politics. And so we will look toward the papal conclave, which, you know, in light of not just a recent movie, but even if that hadn't come out, it would have all the appearances of a partisan convention, because there are factions in churches, just as there are in so many other things in society. And we'll talk about the debate over whether the next pontiff will be more in line with Francis and leading the church toward a rediscovery of its roots of inclusion and mercy, or if it will ratchet up more of a doctrinaire pursuit of cultural adherence, shall we say. So we'll get into that coming up in a bit. In our second hour, we will talk to author Laura Bird. This week marks National Independent Bookstore Day. And so she's going to talk about the ways that independent bookstores are so important to a community. And it's not just about the local economy and another small business, but also a diversity in reading opportunities and, providing community spaces for ways to celebrate literature overall. We'll get into sports. The Brewers were on quite the roller coaster this weekend, though they did take 2 out of 3 from the West Sacramento Athletics. Kristen Lyerly will be here. We'll talk to Selena Heller. Her story for us this week is a local woman in the Chippewa Valley talking about medical research, the clinical cancer research that has kept her alive past her expiration date, as laid out by doctors a couple of years back. That's because of the value of clinical research, of medical research, which should go without saying. But we have to say it. We have to say it repeatedly in this era of budget austerity about the things that are worth our investment and pay dividends for our lives and the lives of those who come after us. We'll have Brittany Merlot talking about this rain that's sitting right over a big chunk of the northern 2/3 of Wisconsin right now, just sitting right on top of us and spinning away. We'll see when it's going to move out and what happens after that. Jane Matnier will tell us what's coming up on her programs this week as well. All of that and more, but first we'll check in with Greg Bach down at Radio Park in Racine, where, again, he thought Easter Sunday was going to be a very relaxing time. He didn't have any big events planned. Let's see now if the young man got the relaxing Sunday he was looking for. Mr. Bach, good morning. What'd you do yesterday?
I did nothing.
Ta-da! Wow. How did it feel?
Honestly, I was feeling under the weather most of the day, so it was just really a lot of laying down.
Yeah.
But it felt good. I watched TV, I watched movies, me and Maybell just hung out. It was fantastic. So, yeah, it was everything I hoped the Sunday would be, because it's been very busy lately, and
yeah,
Sundays off are a few and far between for me. So
right. So, well, good.
Yeah.
Can you do any more of those, or was that kind of a one and done, or all your Sundays have spoken for now?
No, I mean, like the next, like, and then I don't. Not, this is nothing against my friends. I love hanging out with them, but I do because I live in Kenosha, and all my friends generally live in the Milwaukee area.
Mhm.
So even if I'm hanging out with friends, I still count it as like I got stuff to do because I'm driving, I'm hanging out, and I'm going home. So, um, I don't know. I think the next Sunday off I'll have will probably be about 3 weeks or so.
Okay. It is something how when we talk about people that, we go see and you go, well, do they live nearby? Well, kind of yes, no, but it's that 30 minutes or so that you have to bake in.
Yeah.
That's the case, if you're up here in, we're north of Chippewa Falls and you're going to do something down more in the, the mall area of Eau Claire, close to the interstate, well, that's almost 30 minutes. And in the Twin Cities, anytime you plan something, it's 30 minutes. When we lived in Milwaukee, well, plan for 30 minutes, you just kind of bake that in as your default drive time,
Yeah.
as opposed to, hey, our neighbor next door, which we don't do nearly enough of because we are so much far flung now. We are an automobile driven society, pun intended. So it's tough to just go do something quickly. You like you said, you have to bake in the day's plans.
Plus, as I know, at a certain age, you don't just do things at the drop of a hat either. You don't just say, like, "Hey, do you want to go see a movie?" Or like, "Oh, you want to see a movie in 3 weeks?"
Yeah. You know what though? I can't. I've lost track of the number of times that we've tried to plan something with friends and we go, how about next week? No. How about the week after? No. How about the week after? No. How about the week after? No. It's, there's always something. And then sometimes something frees up and you reach out to somebody and go, hey, you guys free to do something tonight? Yeah, as a matter of fact, we are. and then things come together. And honestly, sometimes those are the best. I mean, not that you shouldn't try to make plans, but it's always nice when something spontaneous can still happen. When you can live a life of whimsy. Greg, I want you to be more whimsical in your life.
Oh my God, how do you do that?
I don't know. Sometimes it's better just to sit home and watch TV, as Tony did up in Ashland over the weekend. It puts here on YouTube. My wife watched a season and a half of Ted Lasso for the first time. Just a fantastic show.
Welcome to the club. How much did you cry? Because I cried a lot.
In the first season and a half?
Oh, I mean, yeah, there's just moments. There's moments.
Oh yeah, there are. But Tony does also advocate for doing nothing. Nothing is the best. He puts up. Alicia says, had quite the puddle out my back door this morning. Yes, all kinds of rain. We haven't even put out our rain gauge yet, so I can't even be the old man nerd and tell you what we got, other than to say it was quite a bit. But Alicia also writes, good morning. It's the big week, isn't it? I'm so excited for you guys. Well, thank you, Alicia. Yes.
Thank you, Alicia.
It is a big week, and it feels very much like final exams are coming or your big book report is due and you're still working to get everything ready. Let's put it that way. So these are going to be a couple of busy days ahead before the show grows to 3 hours, 6 to 9 a.m. starting Wednesday. And then Matinee and Air follows right away from 9 to 11. So, I mean, that Greg Bach, he is one busy morning creature starting this week.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
But it's a nice change. We're looking forward to starting the new lineup. Again, that's coming up on Wednesday. So there will be some changes. Here's what doesn't change. The phone number to reach us, 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. You can call that number. You can text that number. You can use that Civic Media app to call or text us, not just listen to us. You can participate as well. And as we mentioned, the comments are already coming in YouTube, also on Facebook. That would be the Up North News Facebook page, the Up North News YouTube page, the Civic Media Facebook page, and I believe starting Wednesday, coming to the Civic Media YouTube page as well. So definitely all kinds of ways to reach us. You can email us as well, radio@upnorthnewswi.com. Up North News being a separate entity from Civic Media, but so happy to do this partnership in the mornings and growing it even stronger coming up this week. But you can find out what all we do over at upnorthnewswi.com. You can sign up for our newsletters there. That would include not only our daily newsletter, but the Sunday morning one that has a Wisconsin politics focus. And my question of the week this week was about the governor's veto power. Because on Friday, I believe after we visited Friday morning, the Wisconsin Supreme Court put out its decision. And it was a, split along ideological lines. So the progressive majority carried the day in upholding a particular way that Governor Evers used his veto power and allowed a veto that extends an increase in school aid for 400 years because of the way that he struck out, individual numbers. And so instead of the years 2023-24 and 2024-25, it's an increase in aid from 2023 to the year 24-25. And the Wisconsin Supreme Court, even the progressive justices were like, this is not great, but it's also not against the Constitution. And, rulings like that actually make me feel better when they're essentially delivering a message to the legislature or to Congress, as the case may be, saying, hey, we're ruling this way because this is where current law is, but you might want to take a look at this. You might want to change things. And goodness knows Republicans have tried to really rein in the gubernatorial veto. I'm sure the same thing would happen if the tables were turned. So I asked, hey, can we take the partisan hat off? What do you think we should do? Should we have the same veto powers that we have right now, the partial veto being extremely powerful? Should we limit it in some way? And obviously, always a good mix of answers. I always appreciate the thoughtful comments that come in. And so thank you for all of those. Again, get our newsletter on the weekends, and you too can respond to our question of the week. A little sports here at 6:18 because the Milwaukee Brewers took 2 out of 3 from the West Sacramento Athletics, trouncing them 14-1 yesterday. Rhys Hoskins went 3 for 5 with a homer, 4 RBIs, and Milwaukee had a franchise record 9 steals in the game. Now the Brewers are on an 11-day road trip, 10 games in 3 cities. The first of 4 in San Francisco will be coming up tonight. Coverage begins at, nope, I didn't update that one there. Coverage begins at, I believe, 8:10 p.m. On several civic media stations. The Bucks, meanwhile, were blown out by the Indiana Pacers on Saturday in Game 1 of their playoff series. Giannis put up 36 points, but everybody else was throwing up bricks, and nothing to show for it. Game 2 is tomorrow in Indy on NBA TV. Wherever you're listening across Wisconsin on this Monday morning, when you're here, you're up north. We'll be right back. Today's secret show is the Rainy Days and Mondays edition. Why didn't I think of that sooner? We need to cue up the Carpenters, Rainy Days and Mondays.
Oh, the only Carpenters we play around here are songs about aliens.
Oh, God, that one. Oh, let's see. I got all this. Okay. Oh, yeah. I'm going to send a note off to Laura Bird real quick. All right. We'll be back in 1 minute.
Secret show.
Well, since my baby left me, well, I found a new place to dwell. Well, it's down at the end of Lonely Street, that heartbreak hotel where I'll be just so lonely, baby. Well, I'm so lonely, I'll be just so lonely, I could die.
Little preview of today's history lesson. Elvis Presley had a couple of #1 songs on this day in the 1950s. We'll have more to say about that coming up in about a half hour here on Up North News Radio, where it is just about 6:22 right now. I was looking at Dan Schaefer sends us an email over the weekend, kind of previewing the week ahead in Wisconsin politics. And he led off the email the same way that I led off our Sunday morning newsletter with sports. It's the NFL draft coming up this week, starting Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. The NFL draft will be at Lambeau Field. Very big, very exciting. I mean, so many people will be there for the excitement. I've never been to one. I had a trip to Nashville where we got there the day after the draft ended. It had been in Nashville that weekend, and you could still feel it there. Just what a big deal it was, how well it went. People were, it's become just this destination. The draft, which used to be something they pretty much did around a card table, and is now this mega event. I mean, it's going to be a tremendous boon to the regional economy there. And so we hope it goes very smoothly and everybody has a wonderful time. There will be a session of the Wisconsin State Senate on Tuesday. There will almost certainly be a bill on extending Medicaid coverage for postpartum women, which won't be a big surprise because the Senate did it in the last session as well by a vote of 32-1, and that one guy is not in the Senate anymore. And in the Assembly, it has so many co-sponsors, it would pass if just the co-sponsors voted for it. But Robin Vos, the Assembly Speaker, doesn't want it. And so the Senate will probably pass it on Tuesday, and then the pressure will ramp up on Speaker Robin Vos to maybe stop being against moms and their health care and do something about maternal mortality and things like that. So that's one of the things. It'll be, as always, a busy week in Wisconsin politics, and we'll keep you updated across Up North News and on the Civic Media Radio Network as well. I think that in talking about the passing of the Pope, let's start simple, because he would agree and would want us to simply say of Pope Francis, a good man died this morning. A good man dedicated to service, but that sounds cliche. It was so much more than that. There was always a sense of mission, and that mission was mercy. It was compassion. It was inclusion. It was especially dedicated to the poor and the marginalized, which should not be that tough to do, and yet it seems to be that tough to do for so many people, arguably more than ever. I was especially heartened by the remarks from Bishop Robert Barron of Winona, Minnesota, and Rochester, Minnesota, near in the La Crosse area. He was on one of the networks early this morning, talking about feeling the loss of a spiritual father, somebody who lived very simply and advocated for caring for the poor, for refugees, for the excluded. He was a Jesuit through and through, the first pope who was a Jesuit, which again is all about a dedication to serving the less fortunate. He was the first pope from the Americas, being from Buenos Aires, the first non-European pope in over 1,000 years, and he has appointed more than half of the College of Cardinals, Francis has, in his more than a decade serving as head of the Roman Catholic Church. And having just seen the movie Conclave not that long ago, and a whole lot of other people are going to be watching it over the next couple of weeks here, it reminds us that while we will remember the man, there will also be this focus on where the church goes from here. Because the way that I, a former Catholic, interpret it, he led that church toward a rediscovery of its roots, of inclusion, and mercy. And despite having named as many cardinals as he did, it is clear there will be a debate over whether the next pontiff will be equally public in the church's need to care for the poor and the downtrodden, or if it will ratchet up its doctrinaire pursuit of cultural adherence, shall we say. And so this conclave, when it eventually begins, will have all the trappings of a partisan convention, essentially, with everybody watching it nonstop, looking for any kind of reading in the tea leaves before they read whether there's white smoke or black smoke coming out from the conclave in the choosing of a new pope. But I do see him as Francis as a shepherd, somebody who steered the church away from the abyss of exclusion. He made clear that the table was open to all in the church. And that is not a universal sentiment in that church or in many others. But certainly I have lived the experience where it is said quite publicly, the table is only open to people who adhere to everything that we tell you to adhere to. And that, in my mind, makes it really tough to mission to others. Francis made clear that he was not in the business of condemnation. He would say, as Jesus did, go and sin no more, but he was always a man of mercy. He was not a perfect man, certainly from a doctrine standpoint. He lifted up women in so many ways, but stopped short of allowing ordination of women as priests. There are many people who agreed with him on almost everything, but not his stance against women's reproductive health rights when it came to abortion care. But there was always compassion in the disagreement. He disagreed with homosexual acts, but he was a fearless advocate of LGBTQ people being able to participate in the church. He did not wish them out of existence. He spoke out against the invasion of Ukraine. He spoke for a ceasefire in Gaza. He spoke out against those who were critical of safety measures during the COVID pandemic. He understood a changing climate and the need to do something about it. He was a leader for the times, and we are very fortunate to have had him in this position, whether Catholic or not, all these years. And some of us can only pray that that kind of a legacy will get to continue there from Rome. More after this. You're up north.
You got a tale to tell. Well, just take a walk down the street to Heartbreak Hotel where you will be.
All right. Well, welcome back to the Secret Show here. Just long enough to say to Cassandra, who said, "That's my song. Hugh Jackman sang it in Happy Feet," talking about Heartbreak Hotel. And I have finally, just moments ago, called it up. The Hugh Jackman singing Heartbreak Hotel. Nicole Kidman was doing Kiss, the Prince song. And yes, that Hugh Jackman version of Heartbreak Hotel. That's what the kids would call a banger, I believe. Kristen Lyerly, good morning. How are you?
I like Hugh Jackman.
You like him? Do you like him singing?
Yeah, I like him singing, not singing, standing there. I like him all.
Oh boy, how you doing?
Good. I had such a nice, relaxing day yesterday. It wasn't busy, and got to
Good.
go for a long bike ride. It was great.
How long?
I biked over to Chisholm and just celebrated the old dock Moonlight Graham by riding around the lake. That
Okay.
name sound familiar? Moonlight Graham, Chisholm, Minnesota. Field
No.
of Dreams.
Oh, okay. I'll have to trust you on that.
No, it's so good. Field of Dreams. He's the doctor who got to play one inning, the sympathetic character.
Okay. It's been a long time since I've seen that. So.
It's so good. It's so good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chelsea was here along with Ross and little Teddy and Charlotte. And she's like, I have to go for a run. She's training for a marathon. And she's gone. And we said to Ross, well, how far was she running today? Like, 15 miles or something. She'll be gone for about 2 hours. I'm like, oh, ouch. So ran all the way up the old Abe Trail here past Jim Falls and back.
Wow.
No, thank you.
That's great though that she can that trail is really nice. So just to be able
It
to
is,
hop
and
on
really
it and
flat.
just-
If you're very flat, if you're looking for doing a run without having to the St. Boston baby with all those hills.
Yeah, or corners and having to wait for traffic.
Mm-hmm.
You just run, just go.
Yep. Exactly. Oh, okay. So I can do some feedback here on the Pope. And obviously, did you hear me talking about the state Senate's going to take up the postpartum bill tomorrow?
Yeah, how about
So
that?
We'll get into that too. So,
Great.
all right. And then the draft. That's right. The draft.
Mm-hmm. We can talk about my show a little bit.
I was going to say, how did episode 2 go?
Good. We talked about Ukraine.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. 15 seconds. Secret show. Well, this was going to be a bittersweet mention anyway. This is the anniversary of Prince passing away back in 2016. And between that and the Pope's passing, it's a little bit more of a melancholy edition of Up North News Radio on this Monday. But Kristen Lyerly, as always, is here to bring things back up for us as well. How's Dr. Lyerly this morning?
Yeah, that music's not melancholy, Pat.
No, not at
No,
all.
that is some good Monday morning. Let's go, friends. Come on, Monday.
Yes.
I
Ugh,
get
okay,
to
all right.
Come on, Greg.
Just-
Whenever
no.
you're on the air.
God, just please.
From Cassandra, she says on YouTube, I became disillusioned several years ago, and I was never Catholic. I have a lot of problems with the church, but Pope Francis was a beacon of light and a true follower of Jesus. So that's one of the comments that we're getting here, and of course, you can do so on YouTube, Facebook. Alicia puts in, whenever I thought of Pope Francis, he was what I thought to be an example of what a Christian is supposed to be. So that's great. And Tony says, hi, bringing the joy, Dr. Lyerly. So thank you
Hey,
for
Tony.
bringing the joy. How?
Hey, have you
Yes.
seen the movie The Two Popes?
Yes, but that was a while back. I don't
It was
remember.
a while
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
It was about the beginning, like when Pope Francis and Cardinal Ratzinger first got together and they were sharing their philosophies. And I think that's one that if you are feeling moved by this moment, that would be another good one to watch.
Yeah, I think that between that and conclave, and I'm sure other folks will suggest some, that this doesn't happen all the time. The passing of a pope and the choosing of a new one, and whether you're Catholic or not, a lot of people take a lot of interest in the tradition as well as the politics, if you will, and getting back to what is your mission in life. So it will be a very intriguing time for everybody, one way or the other. So I woke up to the news, early this morning, saw that the networks were already going, full bore in their coverage. I've already, let's see, on the text line, this came from Chris in Eau Claire. It's a quote card from Pope Francis. It says, "Rivers do not drink their own water, trees do not eat their own fruit, the sun does not shine on itself, and flowers do not spread their fragrance for themselves. Living for others is a rule of nature. We are all born to help each other, no matter how difficult it is. Life is good when you are happy, but much better when others are happy because of you."
That's
Great words to
beautiful.
live by. Well, it's
And
how you got the title Chief Morale Officer of Up North News Radio. So
well, not to get all philosophical, but while I was riding my bike yesterday, I was thinking about what does Easter really mean? And as a kid, I grew up Catholic. So as a kid, we always went to church and we talked about Jesus and all the rising from, all of that stuff. But I was focused on bunnies, eggs, and candy.
yes,
And now, as a grown up, I think a lot about Jesus and the things that he has taught us. And it's all about love and compassion and taking care of each other. And we're not seeing a lot of that in the world, but I think that we want that. So, hey,
I
maybe
think that
this is one of those opportunities to just, reach out and see who in your community is hurting and where that need is and using your resources and your heart to uplift other people.
it is a perfect opportunity for all of us to recenter,
Hmm.
essentially, to do a bit of a gut check and say, who do we want to be, both ourselves as a person and, the community around us.
Hmm.
And that's where I think the word beacon gets used a lot with this Pope. He was truly a beacon in an era where so much discussion related to church and religion and politics and everything else was either dark or divisive.
Yeah.
And he reminded us, he would go to a prison and wash the feet of inmates there, and again talk about those who, they did not ask for their lives to be in a place that led them to, the crimes that they may have committed.
Hmm.
And we would all do well to talk about, second chances, not just for people who, commit crimes or who sin, but who look for second chances in life, maybe in another place. We are all the children of immigrants in one way, shape, or form. People who left a country somewhere else for a better life than what they were struggling through. And I know it pained him as it does me and many others to see the anti-immigrant, anti-refugee state of the world these days.
Hmm.
And I'd like to think that the the pushback is happening. I mean, you saw the pushback in demonstrations last weekend and again this past weekend of people saying not just about the Trump immigration stance, but all kinds of other things of saying, we're not just going to go, what are you going to do? We're going to speak up. We're going to say something. And once again, over this past weekend, in some very small communities, plenty of people wanted to get out there and show what their values were. And I think they did us proud.
I was super excited. So I'm up in northern Minnesota and I was looking for a place to go and I didn't see anything online and I was disappointed. But as I was driving back to town, there were hundreds of people standing on a corner. I just didn't know where to find the information. So I pulled my car over and got out there and was just chatting with people. And these were folks who had all different reasons to be there, whether it was Ukraine or LGBTQ rights or immigration. They had all these different signs and they're just waving at people and having conversations with each other. It was, again, uplifting. And you don't have to get outside and stand on a corner with a sign. You could just do one simple thing. Just listen. Just listen to someone who you otherwise might feel like you typically are the talker in that conversation. Just maybe opening your heart and hearing what they have to say. And you don't have to agree with them, but just respect them and acknowledge that their viewpoint is valuable. Be respectful.
You mentioned Ukraine, and that was a big part of episode 2 of the Dr. Kristen Lyerly show over the weekend.
Yeah, we talked with Kelly Peterson, who's a 3-time Emmy Award-winning journalist, and she brought her muse, Lana Nyland, who is the founder and CEO of an organization called Ukrainian Patriot. They run things to the front line. She lives in Kyiv, which is actually how you say Kyiv. And she not just inspires people by bringing them essential supplies, but she inspires them with music and dance and the creative things that make us human. She tells some really compelling stories. And honestly, Pat, I'm not a journalist and I'm just kind of figuring this whole podcast thing out, but this one was really good, a really good listen.
Well, you get that out of people. I mean, you're a good listener, but you ask great questions as well. I mean, there was a reason we had you starting the whole Women Win Wisconsin segment for us, is that you were finding all of these amazing women in local leadership positions and being able to get them to open up about what drives them, what motivates them. How many times do we say this? You don't have to do what you're doing, whether it's a candidate running for office or, a doctor showing up on the radio or whatever the case may be. So why step up? Why do this? And you definitely bring that out in people when you talk to them. Do you already have a plan for episode 3 next weekend?
I'm super excited. So it's draft in Green Bay, which is, it's like the Super Bowl is in Green Bay. Everybody is so very excited. And Abe is coming home. It's bring your child to work day this weekend. My child is 26 and he's a teacher. So Abe is going to join us and we're going to talk about, here's my plan. We're going to talk about what does Gen Z see in the world today? And so it's going to be Gen X versus Gen Z with a little sprinkle of draft and whatever else is happening in the world. Who knows where the conversation will take us?
Okay. That's interesting. I recall a social media post over the weekend about that Gen Z actually has its own generational divide. That the difference between early Gen Z, which is more progressive, and later Gen Z, which is a little bit more, shall we say, Trumpian. And I think of that with Gen X, because I'm a very early Gen X, and I look at so much of Gen X and go, how are so many of them, Republican politicians and everything? And I realized for them, Ronald Reagan was, their formative year. And now it's Donald Trump. So I'm sure you're going to have a great discussion on,
Hey, Greg, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Probably not. You're a lot smarter than me.
Yeah.
You're a doctor.
Pat's definitely a boomer.
I am right there on the line. I mean,
I am.
Yeah, because go ahead.
I was going to say, Pat, I believe, is very young. I'm using this term as you are on the older side of Gen X, Pat.
Yes. Oh, I am very much so.
I'm on the younger side. I'm like the last available Gen Xer.
Sure.
Because of my age. Yeah.
Look what we've got here. There's a divide within Gen X.
I know. See?
How so? We pretty much agree on things. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well.
I mean, you're right. I'm sorry. Trump is the best.
No,
that's not what I'm talking about. But I'm sticking by my assertion that Pat is a boomer.
The reason it doesn't divide itself well is that my parents were born in 1945, and so they weren't part of the babies that were born from everybody coming home from the war. There wasn't any of that. So when you think baby boomer, you're thinking those folks, but technically, my parents were like the very first baby boomers, or the very first to grow up in that era. And that's the same with me. But when that's the case, you have so much influence from the previous generation. We say that all the time. It's like, I mean, there's so much boomer in us because we're so much closer to our parents and grandparents' experiences than, my younger siblings and others like that. And Alicia writes in, there's a divide in millennials as well. I'm an elder millennial, the child of younger boomers. So, yeah, the lines aren't all neat and tidy. Unfortunately,
about anything.
Yes, exactly. So we've mentioned the draft is coming up, so that's exciting news. But I don't want to finish the segment without mentioning what I said in the last segment about the state Senate taking up a bill that would expand postpartum Medicaid coverage to women instead of 60 days postpartum for a year postpartum. And we are so close to being the only state. Even Arkansas is going to become the 49th state to do this. And the cheese stands alone because of Robin Voss. And I don't know, Kristen, if this bill passes the Senate 33-0 tomorrow, and I think it might, what does that do to the pressure on Robin Voss in the Assembly?
I think it's going to be more than just the Senate passing that is going to put pressure on Robin Voss, because we've got small business, we've got teachers, we've got moms who are coming out in force. So anticipate that you're going to be hearing more and more about this after the Senate passes it, because, like, frankly, the only state that takes insurance, that takes access to healthcare away from moms at 2 months postpartum. Come on, that's not Wisconsin. We're not going to let this happen. So get ready, friends. Get ready to put the pressure on yourself. You can call your assembly person, even if they're already on board. Give them a call, send them a message. We can do more as a population, as Wisconsinites, when we work together. We're famous for this. So this is just one more example of what we do.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to call or send a note to, Robin Voss's office. If you know your own legislator, or just reach out to them. Trust me, again, speaking from experience, they know the volume of calls, they know the volume of emails, and I've been in that caucus room when people speak up and go, "Yeah, I was kind of on the fence, but I've heard from so many constituents who believe X," and you want to stand with your constituents. So I really feel like people can make a difference on this issue, no matter how much Robin Voss says he's digging in his heels, because to him, all Medicaid is welfare, and he wants Medicaid to go away entirely, not expand. But I feel like we can really make a difference this time, potentially.
Especially moms. Come on, moms. It's almost Mother's Day. We understand what this means, because if you're a mom, you've been through this. Robin Voss has not been through this. Let's remember, this is a guy who's been married 3 times and has no kids. And I've had legislators say to me, once the baby's out, what's the big deal? They do not understand that the postpartum period is a challenging, incredibly difficult period. So it's up to us. It's up to us to use our voices.
So what are you going to do for the draft? Are you going to be back in De Pere by then?
I am.
Green
I'm going
Bay?
to do it. I'm going to do it all. I'm going to ride my bike down there and chain it to a fence post, and I am going to just go out and live it up.
That's so great.
It's going to be a blast.
I mean, everybody's just so excited about it. So that's wonderful. All right. Well, let's take a pause here, and Selena Heller will come in. We will have today's history lesson as well. Then author Laura Bird in our next hour, talking about Independent Bookstore Day across the country. This is Up North News Radio. I'm Pat Whitelaw.
I had forgotten how much I like that song.
I know. See, I'm going to miss picking those out. I'm not going to miss how much time it takes up. But
Do you not get to do that anymore? Why?
because every day Facebook or YouTube is like either restricting us or kicking us off or muting us. And so the history lesson segment will stay. But all the bumpers and things and the theme, the opening theme and all that, we're just going to go with kind of a more non-licensed, or what is it, uncopyrighted library, something like that.
Yeah, it's like it's we own the license to like we have a universal group license, so we can use their library of music, but it's all like
generic. And I mean, there's some really good tunes in there, don't get me wrong. It's just that it won't be things that you hear on the radio, because social media still can't figure out that even though a radio station has a license to play all this, that license doesn't extend to social media. So
That makes me sad.
it makes me sad too, So, yep, Tony's right. Copyright free music. Yep, he's very excited about this breaking news. What, copyright free music? Okay, well,
wait, what?
I've picked out some nice little ditties. So
Yeah,
I'm going to feature local bands on my podcast.
that
on my
is
radio
awesome.
show. Mhm.
Yeah, I got this guy who he's going to be doing more of the 8:30 guests. So music, arts, entertainment features, and so maybe bands. Maybe you and this guy can talk about bands that we can publicize on both shows. So
Mhm.
yeah, meet my guy. Here he is, right there.
Oh yeah, hey,
Hi.
hi.
Hello.
Hi, I'm the
Sorry,
problem. It's me.
I'm not feeling the best today, so I'm not
I
very.
know. We know.
Yeah.
It's
I think I should have stayed home, but I didn't.
you got this. Secret show. I know you're like, wait, it's a rainy day. It's a Monday. Where are the carpenters when you need them? But no, we're not doing rainy days and Mondays. We're doing Friday I'm in Love in today's history lesson to kick things off, because it was on this day in 1992 that The Cure released their 9th studio album, Wish, which featured that hit single. It debuted at number 2 on the album chart. It was their highest charting album as well. So again, it was released this day in 1992, which back then would have been Robert Smith's 33rd birthday, because today Robert Smith of The Cure is 66 years old today. And that's how we kick off our history lesson. I played that so many Fridays, I've worn it out now at this point.
It's such a good song. It's
I'm
so
gonna bring it back up a
cheerful.
little bit. There we go.
There you go. Thank you.
Have you seen Robert Smith lately? His look is continuing to progress.
It's changing. Yes, it is.
Neither one of those statements were complimentary either.
Yep. Another birthday to share. Andy McDowell is 67 years old today, who I know most from Groundhog Day. I know she's been in a lot of other things, for weddings and a funeral and all kinds of other stuff. But yeah, Andy McDowell, 67 years old today. Selena Heller has joined the conversation as well from Eau Claire. How are you, Miss Heller?
Good. Good morning,
Okay.
everybody.
Good. Do you feel like you're, when you do this on Mondays, like, is this your Groundhog Day? Like, okay, it's another Monday. Hit the button. Yeah. Andrew,
Yep.
laugh at Pat's jokes. Let's move on. Okay. Yep. On this day in 1973, the number 1 hit was by Tony Orlando and Dawn. Yes, I know. Greg's laughing because only Kristen Lyerly can be bouncing around with this.
I loved their TV show. Do you remember the Tony
It was
Orlando and Dawn
it was
show?
a very nice, cute little TV show. Back
Very
then,
wholesome. Very wholesome.
very wholesome. When everybody, Donnie and Marie had a show, Sonny and Cher had a show, the Hudson brothers, you name it, Captain and Tennille all had shows for a little while there, and Tony Orlando and Dawn had a kind of a longer lasting one. So anyway. This was a song that 7 years later was played all the time about the hostages in Iran and welcoming them home. So it kind of got a second resurgence. We mentioned Elvis Presley's Heartbreak Hotel earlier. It was number 1 this day in 1956. And then 6 years later, Elvis went to number 1 with Good Luck Charm. Let's move ahead to 1984, where the number 1 song was by Phil Collins.
What an intro.
Wow.
What a transition.
How can I just let you walk away?
We get the interpretive dance by Kristen as well for this. This was Phil Collins' first number 1 song. He would go on to have 6 more on the Hot 100, but starting with this from the Against All Odds movie soundtrack. Once again, one of those where I know the movie song, never saw the movie, and nobody remembers the movie.
Yeah.
Nobody says, oh, hey, I watched Against All Odds again last weekend.
I remember the movie. It was Mikhail Baryshnikov and Gregory Hines. It was dancing and ballet, and he defected from Russia. I totally remember this movie.
I think you're talking about White Knights.
You're talking about
Oh,
White
yeah.
Knights.
You're right.
But Dr. Lyerly, the confidence with which you went into that statement,
Yeah. I believed it.
you were like, I'm here to defend this movie. It's the wrong movie.
It's
I love White Knights.
I'm like, I do
Monday.
not recall Mikhail Baryshnikov in there with Jeff Bridges, James Woods, and Rachel Ward at all. But
That's the director's cut, Pat. They cut all that stuff out. The
course,
ballet.
of course.
Yeah.
silly me.
You
The-
convinced me.
Yes, the number 1 song in 1979 as disco was beginning to wane, but not quite yet. Amy Stewart had that #1 song this day in '79?
My high school pep band did a kick butt version of this song.
Oh, I'll bet.
Should have.
Once again, Pat should have queued that up a little bit better. But you know what you should do at random times like that is you should just click anywhere in the middle of the song. Right?
I can't do that. That's not how Cartwall works. Once you start playing, it's just playing. Okay. Holy cow. Okay, you guys talk. I'm going to get to the good stuff because there's like what seems like a decade of intro.
I was going to say, this is definitely not the single version. This is the extended dance remix. There we go.
My pep band just got right into it.
Oh, yeah.
That intro stuff.
Her pep band's still doing the intro to this day. It's still going.
Let's hear it for Kakana High School.
That's
Woo!
right. There we go. All right, Raleigh Fingers of the Milwaukee Brewers became the first pitcher to record 300 saves this day in 1982. Prince passed away on this day in 2016 at the age of 57 from a fentanyl overdose. On the national calendar today, this is Infertility Awareness Week. This is Medical Lab Professionals Week. This is Administrative Professionals Day. Remember when it was called Secretary's Day for all those years? And now it's Administrative Professional Day. Been around since 1952. Yes, Greg.
My mother was a secretary from like she still knows how to do shorthand for decades, and she hated being called an assistant or anything else. She's like, I'm a secretary. I was trained to be a secretary. That was my job. That's what I do. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, okay.
Yeah. Look, if you're proud of it and you know that's what you do, and you want that badge, you get to call that badge what you want.
There you go.
Good on you. All right, so when we come back, Selena Heller is going to, as we were talking about, things like Medical Lab Professionals Week, and I'm thinking of labs and research and everything else. I mean, medical research, that's a good thing, right? Everybody? Cancer research, good thing,
for
you think?
it.
Sure. So let's defund the heck out of it, which seems to be the theme today. But Selena's got somebody telling you how it can do things like help you last past your expiration date. At least, the one that the doctors originally give you. So stick around for that. Kristen Lyerly is here. Greg Bach, Brittany Merlot will have the forecast. All that and more on Up North News Radio, live from Chippewa Falls on the Civic Media Radio Network. Love that people
Keep
watching
the
going, God,
music going."
she's still dancing.
She never stops dancing.
I love that song. That encapsulates the 70s for me. Also, I found this new thing. I have Apple Fitness on my phone.
Yes, I do too. Yes.
It's so good. Do you know that they have dance?
No, I did not know that.
It's awesome. They have this new, they'll often feature a certain group, and they're featuring the Bee Gees right now. So I am not a good dancer, but nobody's watching, so I can do whatever I want. And I've really been enjoying dancing to the Bee Gees, including a lot of finger pointing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fun. It's a good way to get your heart rate up.
Oh, yeah. Let's see here. So much to track. Okay. I was just looking at the AI recap of the past hour here. So,
Oh, geez.
Really, you give Raleigh Fingers a mention?
Yeah.
What?
Raleigh Fingers, the pitcher for the Brewers.
Yeah, I'm aware of who he is. What, are we supposed to give him a whole segment? My goodness.
No, couldn't we just dote on it for a little bit? I mean,
sure, we can dote on it. We can.
Season.
That is when this is the perfect time to dote on it during the
secret show.
Is when you want to actually just. If you love Raleigh Fingers, let us know in the live stream comments.
I met Raleigh Fingers at the event for Just a Bit Outside. And
nice.
He was.
Was he nice?
He was nice. He was a little his health wasn't great. He had just had, I think, back surgery maybe, and he had a walker. But same mustache. We chatted for a little while, got his autograph. It was so cool. And
That's
I got
the
to meet
segment,
Paul
folks. That's
Molitor.
the Raleigh Finger segment for today.
There you go.
And I got to meet Paul Molitor, which was like a dream come true for me. He was my favorite.
That's a dream.
Hmm.
And Pat's gone.
Bye, Pat.
Just
Okay.
wandered off. And Selena's gone.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
Pat is a boomer. He just wanders off. You're like, Pat, Pat, where are you, honey? Come back.
I put some more of those originals down.
This is what my kids tell me about generations. So speaking of Gen Z and the divide in Gen Z, my oldest was born in 99 and my youngest was born in 2018. So they're 10 years apart. And what happened early on.
Wait. Your youngest,
Sorry,
your oldest.
2008.
There it is. Okay.
Okay. It's Monday. Give me a little Monday grace. So what I understand is the early Gen Z folks, because technology changed so much, because that was the World Wide Web and the iPhone especially. Remember how things changed so quickly with the iPhone?
Yeah.
So those were the kids who were like just kind of learning that stuff when they were early on, and then the later kids just always had it. So the difference between my early Gen Z kids and my late Gen Z kids is really pretty striking. It's almost like they too are from different generations, just because the trajectory of change during their lifetime was so great.
I guess my niece and nephew would be Gen Z kid. Yeah, they're Gen Zers. They're not millennials. They're Gen Z kids. And I just liked when they were growing up, when they were like 5 and 6 and whatnot, just like being able to say, when I was little, there was no internet. When and their just faces would be like, what? How did you not use an iPad? We didn't have an iPad. What did you do? We told stories around the fire.
Why do I get the feeling you guys are talking about me while I was gone?
Why do you feel like it's always Pat? Why do you feel like it's always about you?
Because I don't think it was about Selena when Tony says people in their advanced age just wander away.
Well, Pat, you sort of just
wander away.
Walked all out. It was like, I'm just going
to interrupt and go, I'll be right back. It was like, I don't have to announce it. I'm gone.
Usually
I gotta go.
That's
It's time for my Metamucil.
That's at 8:00. Oh no! Now I got to push it to 9.
Oh yeah, you got to switch up your schedule.
Oh my goodness!
Oh my gosh, Rick, we were watching Toy Story last week, and all of a sudden we heard the whiskers, and Emery.
Whiskers, will you get out of here?
Toy Story. That's what that's from. Oh my gosh, Emery stopped everything. He looked at me like, what? And we all laughed.
You guys didn't know?
I did not know that was from Toy Story.
Okay.
I love that movie.
The great Wallace Shawn, everyone.
Yes.
The same man who gave us Inconceivable.
Inconceivable.
You keep using that word. I do not think that word means what you think it means.
Somebody you gotta love social media. Somebody put up that initial sword fight between him and who's the main character?
Leslie.
Thank you. Leslie. And but they turned the swords into lightsabers.
Yeah, they did.
Look, it's funny. Oh, let's see.
On that note.
Shoot, I was gonna finish this note to Laura. Okay.
And then it gets real quiet.
I just sent in my email.
Except for little keyboard
Tick, tick,
clicks.
tick, tick, tick.
I'll give you in the time we have left. Is
Oh God.
I feel like 30 Germans made this song.
It's the time of sprockets when we dance.
Why does it have to be 30 Germans?
Because 31 would be too many.
Welcome, Brittany.
Hi,
Good
Brittany.
morning.
Hi, Brittany. Let me hear you speak.
Good morning.
There we go. Okay. You missed hot butter popcorn.
Did she though? Did she miss it?
And really been missing work, Bob.
10 seconds.
across Wisconsin from Civic Media, this is Up North News Radio. Now, live from our Lake Minnesota studio, here's the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Brightlow.
Good morning. Welcome back to Up North News Radio, brought to you by Courier Newsroom, carried by our friends on the Civic Media Radio Network at 7:06 on this Monday morning, April 21st. We'll be talking a little later this hour with author Laura Bird. We'll be talking about National Independent Bookstore Day and the ways that you can support those independent bookstores in your community and the good things that they do, not just for the economy, but for the community at large. Greg Bach is here from Radio Park. Selena Heller is here from Eau Claire. Up North News reporter Dr. Kristen Lyerly joins us from up on the range, to Iron Range there. And meteorologist Brittany Merlot joins us from up north to tell us more about this big old system of rain that's just sitting, spinning around us. Looks like a little wintry mix in there in places as well, Brittany. So how long does this sit around and then what?
And then what, right? Oh, gosh. So this low pressure system is sitting right over Wausau right now, and it has split the state in half. If you're up north, you're feeling pretty chilly. If you're down south, you're nice and mild. Temperatures are at 32 degrees in Superior. They are at 60 degrees right now in Kenosha. So 30-degree difference. Wild. We've got flurries and a wintry mix flying north of Eau Claire, north of Wausau. That'll continue for the next few hours. You could pick up a trace, a wet, slushy trace or so, but otherwise, it's a windy day with this low pressure system right here. We've got winds up north out of the northeast, and if you're down south, they're out of the southeast. They are sustained up to 25 miles per hour, and they're gusting up to 40. So still very, very windy throughout the day today. High temperatures will be in the low to mid 50s, kind of sliding south and then peaking into the Fox Valley today. But up north, we're going to be into those low to mid 30s and kind of hanging out into the 40s for central Wisconsin today. It will be mostly cloudy with some spots of sun later on as the sun sets. We do have a cold night ahead of us, and then more rain moves across the state tomorrow as another low pressure heads our way. While we've got the draft going on in Green Bay, we've got all these scattered showers throughout the week before we clear things out for this weekend. So a wild week ahead, go figure.
So it might be a little wet to start the draft, but maybe better near the end of it?
Exactly. Yep,
okay.
That's what we're looking at.
All right. Hey, before we get to Robin Tigerton, I want to say good morning to Jordan Anderson, who's writing in a good morning to everyone on Facebook. I don't think Jordan's popped in during the show.
Hey,
Thank
Jordan.
You. Yeah, we get notes from him every so often. Nice to have you along there, Jordan. Thank you. Rob says, good morning from Tigerton. It's cloudy, light rain, 39 degrees. We picked up half an inch of rain overnight. My thoughts and prayers on the passing of Pope Francis, he writes. Also, Saturday night, I got my advanced storm spotter certificate. There are two categories of storm spotters, standard and advanced, and I got both of them. Way to go, Rob. Overachiever. He says, I spent Easter Sunday at my sister Debbie's house with her family. My two grandnephews, Marshall and Winston, sat on my lap and listened to train videos on my phone. He says, tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree that we played in our last segment was a very popular song during the times when his grandma Lehman passed away on May 1st, 1973. But finally, he says, I hope my 5 favorite Monday morning people had an excellent Easter.
Thanks, Rob. Right back at you.
You did.
I know. So, Brittany, thank you so much for the update. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you a little later on. All right. Also, we're going to remind you that you can sign up for our daily newsletter at Up North News. Head over to upnorthnewswi.com. Click subscribe in the banner up at the top of the homepage there, and you'll see the weekday edition that Christina Laurie puts together. And today, it gets into the notion that this is Earth Week and that Earth Day is here as well. And, the need to take care of things like our national parks and our public land. Public lands are in more danger than ever with this new administration. It's not just the land. We didn't really even get into this last week that President Trump has opened up a broad swath of the Pacific Ocean near the U.S. into commercial fishing, something that has species that should be protected and instead are going to be caught up in commercial nets and all of that. So again, learn more about caring for our national parks and public lands in our newsletter. This seems like a no-brainer. Take care of public lands and public forests. Take care of the oceans would be another one. Medical research. Kristen.
Earth Day started here. Gaylord Nelson,
That's right.
Wisconsin is the home. This is
Yeah.
our thing.
Yes, and we should be embracing it. Again, simple concept. Take care of the planet, leave it in better shape than you found it, or at least don't screw it up, for the next generation. But getting back to the medical research end of it, it's what Selena's sharing with us today. Again, for all the people that you talk to, all the people that you hear from in this day and age. And again, to borrow from Mr. Bach and Ms. Matinaire, this shouldn't be a thing. Here's what shouldn't be a thing. We're cutting cancer research. Let's see, I believe Tony had something along those lines. There it is from YouTube. I am so tired of these cancer patients mooching off everyone. Sarcasm. It was something Dave Obey always said as a congressman, is he said nobody had ever come up to him and said, Congressman, when are you going to cut that cancer research? It's such a waste. Said nobody ever, Selena. And yet that is exactly the thing people have to defend now.
Oh my goodness, that is what's happening. The National Institutes of Health, the world's largest public funder of biomedical research, has suspended funding to a lot of trials, and that's taking away research grants and stopping more than 100 of those clinical trials. And that's it's damage to ongoing research to develop cures and things for cancer research, like we said, Alzheimer's disease, ALS, diabetes, opioid abuse, genetic diseases, other rare diseases. And this is funding that was approved by Congress. And so it's billions of dollars. It's just being stopped, all of these things.
So who did you hear from, and who are we going to hear from here in talking about the value of cancer research?
Teresa Creasy. She is from Aleva, and she is in stage 4 lung cancer, which has spread or metastasized to her bones and in her brain. And she has been gone through chemo and immunotherapies, but in her brain, the cancer has continued to grow. So she went to clinical trials for a couple of years instead. And so she's worried about all of that stopping. So this is Teresa.
And in that 2 years, it has kept me alive, able to live my life with a much better quality of life than the chemo and immunotherapies. It has decreased the metastases in my brain and kept the rest of my cancer stable for 2 years. When I was diagnosed nearly 3 years ago, I was given 2 years to live. Cancer research is real. Clinical trials are real. Cancer is one of the biggest killers of Americans out there. If you drop the clinical trials of cancer research, and it's not just cancer research, it's medical research of every kind, diabetes, everything. If you drop that, people are going to die. What I see happening here is not just racial cleansing, but a cleansing of all people. They don't want the sick and weak. They don't want to have to deal with that. They don't want to have to pay for that.
What was the context of that, Selena? Where was she speaking?
So she was speaking at one of these events, like kind of a town hall.
Okay.
And she was one of the speakers who just kind of came to say her piece and what was on her mind. And so she told her story. I talked to her afterwards too. She said she feels better now than she ever did after this clinical trial. So hopefully she continues to do well.
It feels weird to call these things, protests or demonstrations. I guess alternative town halls would be another way, Kristen, to describe them, where people are coming together not just in opposition to something or to a person, but to realize that they all stand together for the things that contribute to a healthy society, things you didn't think you'd have to defend. We didn't think we'd have to defend free and fair elections. I didn't think we'd have to defend cancer research, but people are at least now standing up and speaking out for these things.
We saw this a couple weeks ago in Shawano, where people were just sharing their concerns, and then others in the audience were saying, well, wait, I can connect you with this person or this organization to help solve your problem, and we can work together. And it's a really beautiful thing that we're starting to see. But I want to go back to Teresa, and I just really want to think about the words she was saying. Think about how she's here and she's had all of this extra time with the people she loves who depend on her because of this research. My mom died of brain cancer nearly 30 years ago, and none of this was available. There was no immunotherapy. It was chemo and surgery and radiation, and she didn't have a great outcome, but things have changed so much since then. And it's because of this NIH funded research, and those funds are not easy to get, believe me. But we're taking all of this away and we're leaving all of these researchers in the lurch. And as a result, people's lives are changed, they're harmed, their families are suffering, and their communities are suffering.
What I think of is Sherry's residency, her medical residency at the University of Minnesota. And her very first rotation was GYN oncology. And your first rotation, when you start residency, it's hell to begin with. Now started on that one where women who look just like Kristen and Selena, these people who are young and vibrant, they are moms, and they were getting cancer, uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, things like that, and just dying. And that was now 30 years ago, just over 30 years ago. And Kristen, you can attest, in 30 years, the difference in survival rates for those kinds of cancers has been, again, there's a ways to go, but the progress has just, you almost want to weep for those who didn't get to benefit from it.
And it's one thing to talk about it on this level, on this big macro level, but when it's actually happening to you in your family and you're looking for answers and you know that the answers are there, and now the rug is getting pulled out from underneath these families and these individuals. It's unconscionable.
Yeah. Selena, thank you for that story. Appreciate it very much. You want to hang around and tell us about your Easter, or do you got to run off?
I can hang around.
All right. Look, Pat took hostages. Kristen and Selena are going to talk about their Easter weekend. We're going to get into a little bit of sports as well. We'll talk about the Brewers, how they did against the West Sacramento Athletics, and the Bucks. We don't want to talk about how they did opening their playoffs, but we got to, and we'll do that right after this on Up North News Radio, live from Lake Wissota on the Civic Media Radio Network. Pat took a hostage.
Pat, I'm trying to remember that TikTok. Did you get the TikTok video that I sent you about when the fans in the stands at a baseball game shouting at the opposing outfielders when they were singing? They would say, "Hey, Joe, have you got a pocket full of sunshine?" And then all of them would yell something like, "Yeah, buddy," or so. It was so funny, and they would do it over and over and over again to the different outfielders.
I think. Are you talking about the guy who he'll yell out like "You definitely cried during Steel Magnolias," and they just all "You bum."
That's it. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's really lightweight insults, like nothing really mean. It's more to get them to laugh and to acknowledge that. But it's always just I love
that is always the main thing is they live for the acknowledgement, and then when they do get, oh God, they cheer. Oh, yeah. We did it.
And at the end, it's always like a group of people that yell, "You bum."
Yeah.
It's so cute.
What the Western Michigan hockey team, they play in Lawson Arena, and so their fans are called the Lawson Lunatics. And I'd been to a few games already, home games, and heard them, and yeah, they're and they're a little raunchy, as college cheers student sections are. But then to go to the conference tournament and hear them compared to all the other teams, I mean, they're just so far away. And in the national tournament too, you could hear them on the TV the whole time. They never stopped. They were true. I mean,
I love that.
Raunch notwithstanding, it is exactly what you wanted in a
there's another
section.
guy who with a bullhorn just to sit on a crowded city street at night and go give compliments, catcall compliments.
Nice.
Riding in a bus down the boulevard and the place was pretty packed.
Yes, Weird Al is in the history books. It was 44 years ago today that Weird Al Yankovic made his TV debut playing the Queen parody Another One Rides the Bus on The Tomorrow Show with Tom Snyder. Who all here still remembers The Tomorrow Show with Tom Snyder? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay, Boomer. Anyway.
Oh, God, let it go.
So there you go. Weird Al made it to today's history lesson. Selena, what did you get to do over the Easter holiday?
Oh, had the family dinner, of course, with the ham and mashed potatoes and gravy. I'm known for eating all of the mashed potatoes and gravy, so that's
wow.
Mm-hmm.
What a reputation!
That's the thing. We went to see the Easter Bunny at the mall last week, and so this is our annual thing. We go to get a picture with the Easter Bunny. Last year, the Easter Bunny, after we got our picture taken, the Easter Bunny doesn't speak generally ever.
Not supposed to, yeah. It's a law of the mascots, right, Kristen?
Yeah.
Okay.
On our way there last week, Emery said, "Remember when he talked last year?" And I was like, "Oh no, he did," because when we were leaving, he said, "Are you Selena Heller?" Emery was like, "What? No."
Do I need to call security?
Oh boy!
Suddenly you got real famous to Emery.
Yeah.
She's like, she's just my mom, but wow.
The Easter Bunny knows your name. Oh my gosh!
I'm just trying. Of course, I've right away moved to Selena Heller is going through swiping on these dating apps, and up comes the Easter Bunny on her screen. Like, I'm going to swipe that way on this guy.
That's not where I went with that.
Yeah,
Me either.
No, not at all. But so she was waiting this time. She was just like, "Is he gonna say something? Is he gonna say something?" And he didn't this year. So he was still silent. But she was really she remembered that from last year, and she's been thinking about that. So that was kind of funny to listen to her on the way there.
I'm a little surprised that Emery wasn't like, "Hey, Easter Bunny, do you remember my mom, Selena Heller?" I'm sure you do.
Well, Easter has evolved into like a second Christmas for a lot of people now, because it's not just like chocolates and bunnies and jelly beans in your Easter basket. You have like clothes and I don't know, lots of things.
Oh yeah.
Why?
Uh-huh.
Trust me, especially when you get grandkids too. It's like, okay, so the grandsons all got different kinds of T-shirts. Like the one got a Minecraft T-shirt, with Steve's Lava Chicken on it, of course, and the other one is a gym rat. So there was kind of a gym theme to it as well. And then there's usually little toys. The little ones who are here this weekend got little Easter Bunny squirt gun, not squirt gun, but they shoot bubbles. You put bubble solution in there, and so little 3-year-old Charlie, she's just running around shooting everybody with bubbles. All the little soap bubbles are everywhere. So
Emily got
it's
big bubble gun. Yes, that's fun. So and there's even requests. So in the store, when we were at the store, she wanted all this, these things, and I said, "Well, the Easter Bunny's coming, so hold off." So she's like, in the store, "Easter Bunny, can you bring me?" I'm like, "Oh my heavens!"
What did she say? Saying it out loud, like the way your phone hears you, and suddenly you start to see ads for all the things you were just talking about.
As we all know, Christmas, you write a letter to Santa. Easter, you yell in the middle of the mall at the bunny.
Yes, it's tradition. That's exactly how these things work.
Because my mom is Selena Heller.
Oh,
That threw me for a loop. Also, I didn't know what to do with that.
Sherry still laughs about the time that I was in a department store with her. This was right after we met, first Christmas, or maybe the second Christmas, and we're going through Dayton's, somewhere in the Twin Cities, and there were like these advertisements to visit with our talking Christmas tree and tell the Christmas tree what you want for Christmas or whatever. Okay, whatever. So we come down this escalator, and there is just like a tree, just a tree right there, any old tree, fake one. And I go, hey, are you the talking Christmas tree? Without missing a beat, a voice from the tree. Why, yes, I am. I fell down. I was so not expecting the tree to talk back to my sarcastic remark. So to this day, she'll just be like, go see if that tree talks over there. That might be the talking Christmas tree.
That's a whole thing in eastern Wisconsin. Bruce the Spruce was
Bruce
that, I
the
think,
Spruce.
Gimbals. Oh, yeah. We would go visit with Bruce the Spruce, and there was a person in there who would have a conversation with you, which was delightful. I think they have it in the Neville Museum now, so you can still go there during the holidays and chat with Bruce the Spruce. Not kidding.
Greg's got nothing for this one.
I thought that was normal. I thought everybody had a Bruce the Spruce.
Yeah, I think we did in the mall here. I remember in London Square.
Okay. Kristen, are you a ham dinner person when you do the thing with the family, or?
Yeah, we're going to do it probably next weekend. But yeah, we do the whole thing and then we feast. Everybody brings a dish. It's like the meal is the big thing.
Yeah. Nope,
And then-
Sherry did as well. Yep.
And then Lindsay buys candy because he loves that. So he's 18 now and he buys candy for everybody and he gets such pride in that. And now we started buying candy for the neighbor kids that are little because I think there's that like little child that lives inside of him that he needs to feed. So he doorbell ditched our neighbors some candy over the weekend.
Did you see the post, kind of the comic? It looked like a chocolate bar, but it's wrapped in an IKEA wrapper, and it says IKEA chocolate bunny, flat packaging, and you're supposed to assemble it yourself.
No.
Anyway, we did the ham dinner. The kids got way more candy than they'd want. I made hot beefs yesterday. So, I mean, we all ate good over the weekend. And you're right, Celine, it's such a difference from, it's almost Christmas-like, whereas, again, back in our day, it was, Mom hid a couple of hard-boiled eggs. We didn't like hard-boiled eggs at the time. We were just these picky eaters. We just wanted our chocolate bunnies. And it was like, nope, you couldn't get your chocolate bunny till after you ate one of your hard-boiled Easter eggs. It was just like, it's so different now. These kids, they have no idea how lucky they have it.
Okay, boomer.
There you go. That's just what we would. Selena, thank you for that story. Kristen, for Bruce the Spruce.
I got you.
I didn't know where we were going here, and I'll tell you what, high risk, high reward. We got the reward this time around, you guys. Kristen, have a great week. Hey, can we see you on Friday with the newly expanded show?
And on Wednesday with Maggie Dawn, we're starting a new segment. It has to do with broads.
All right. Okay. Big changes this week. Thank you, Selena. Have a great day. We'll talk to Laura Bird about Independent Bookstore Day coming up right after this. You're up north. Maybe we could have picked a different ending.
Yeah, of all things. That's where you go.
Weird Al is no joke. Weird Al is funny, but he's like seriously funny.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
He did a tour years ago, like 2-3 years ago, with only original tunes. He didn't do any parodies. And I was really nervous for him because I'm like, oh, people are going to be really mad and they're going to go. He had to add a second show at Riverside because he sold out.
Oh, good.
His fans are rabid.
Super loyal.
Yeah.
Good.
I've seen him twice. They're both great shows.
Yeah, I saw him once, but I mean, it was way early in his career. It was at Valley Fair, at the
Valley
amusement park on the stage. Yeah,
Fair.
where I worked for 4 years. Yep, I was a games huckster. Yep.
Fun.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. I'll be right back.
Okie dokie.
When did you work at Valley Fair, Pat?
81, 2, 3, 4.
I had friends who were in the band. What's that band called?
The White Sidewalls?
No, the band that would go around Valley Fair with the drum and the
Yeah.
tuba. And...
Yeah, they were just the Oompa band or whatever they were. Yep.
No, they had a real name.
Did they?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to
I'll
trust
think
you
of
on
it.
that one. All right.
Yeah.
You send that to me. All right, you two. Thank you so much, as always.
Have a great day.
All right. See ya. Wait a minute. Let's put Laura back up here. There she is. I think she'll pop up eventually. Uh-oh. Are we going to have issues with your signal again, Laura? Laura?
Why? Me? Yeah.
Oh, no. You're very, very glitchy again. What are we going to do with the signal? Yes. Can Can you jump on the phone then? Just 855-75-CIVIC, and we'll talk that way.
Yeah.
Did you catch that?
Okay, hold on.
855-75-CIVIC? 855-752-4842. Yes. Why don't you give that a go? We'll work on this signal issue
Okay.
before the next event. So, all right, I'll talk to you on the phone.
2, 3, 2.
Okay, there. I see you calling in. Greg is stepped away, but he will answer the phone in just a little bit. So just let that hang, and we'll see you in a little while.
Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow.
Got Laura Bird standing by right after we check a little bit of sports here. Coming up on 7:35, Rhys Hoskins went 3 for 5 with a homer, 4 RBIs. The Brewers had a franchise record 9 stolen bases. And pitcher Logan Henderson recorded 9 strikeouts in his major league debut as the Brewers jumped all over the Athletics 14-1 yesterday. The Brewers finished the homestand 4-2. They're now on their season-long 10-game road trip. So 11 days, 10 games, 3 cities, the first of 4 in San Francisco starting tonight. So you got West Coast baseball for the next 3 nights. If you're a night owl, coverage begins at 8:10 on Civic Media stations in Hayward, Park Falls, Racine, Kenosha, Oshkosh, and Richland Center. The Milwaukee Bucks were blown out by the Pacers in Game 1 of their playoff series in Indianapolis over the weekend. Game 2 is tomorrow in Indy, where, again, they'll try to get back on track. For one game does not a series make. Just ask the LA Lakers, who everybody's been predicting to win it all. They got blown out by the lowly Minnesota Timberwolves in their first game on Saturday. So we got a long way to go. The hockey playoffs began over the weekend as well. So just about 2 months of postseason in the NBA and the NHL to tell you all about. All right, let's talk with Laura Bird, author and friend of the show here, about Independent Bookstore Week is coming up this week, or Independent Bookstore Day, I guess I should say. And Laura joins us on the phone. Laura, good morning. How are you?
Hey, Pat. I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. So nice to have you here. And to give us some context about these independent bookstores and, ways that we can support them. They're not everywhere, of course. I mean, we're in an age now where everything seems to have become a chain. And, for the longest time, it felt like everything was a Borders or a Barnes and Noble or, some other big retail shop.
Right.
So tell us a bit more about, well, let's start with what exactly is an independent bookseller.
Sure. Well, they're so important, and I'm so happy to be able to talk about them today. So an independent bookstore is obviously independently owned, and it's not part of a larger chain such as Barnes and Noble, like you mentioned. And most independent bookstores typically consist of just a single store, but some do have several locations. Like if you've ever been to Barbara's Books in Chicago, they have a shop at O'Hare Airport. That's an example. There's also Powell's out in Portland. So for most of the 20th century, bookstores in the U.S. were independent. But then as suburban shopping malls became increasingly popular in the 60s, so too did those mall-based bookstore chains, like you mentioned, like Borders, Walden Books, and B. Dalton. Then in 94, a certain gigantic online retailer was formed. And I don't even need to say their name. We know who they are. And if you remember, Pat, that online retailer only sold books for like the first 4 or 5 years in existence. So by 99, they started adding in other product lines. But in 2000, the number of indie bookstores had dropped in our country by 43%, if you can believe that. So they were really impacted by that large online retailer, as were the big box stores that you mentioned. And Walden Books, B. Dalton, and Borders were all closed for good by 2011. It's pretty stark, I think. But on a positive note, I think the fall of those larger retailers has left room for the return of more independent bookstores. And I found a great statistic that said that the number of indie bookstores in the U.S. has actually grown since 2009 by about 150%. There are about 4,000 independent bookstores in the country now. So that's kind of the history. I would say that, if you don't buy your books from a certain online retailer, that online retailer is going to be just fine. But if you don't buy books from your local independent bookshop, they are not going to be fine. So I think people can make very thoughtful choices about where they choose to buy their books.
Boy, you did trigger some memories there as a kid who could not get enough out of books to go into B. Dalton.
Yep.
And then later Walden Books.
Oh,
I mean,
I
that was like such a treat. But then they grew into these behemoths, all of them owned by Tom Hanks, and they put all the small stores, all of them owned by Meg Ryan, out of business. They made a movie out of it. You've got Mail, and now things have shaken out since then. So tell us a bit about why independent bookshops are so important, because it's not just any old small business. It's not just an economic reason why they're so important.
Right. I'm so glad you asked me that question. So I have my top 6 reasons why they're so important. Number 1, if you're an avid reader like me, you know that booksellers, like the real live human being people who work there, they are not an algorithm. They know their stuff, and their job is to connect you with the perfect book for you, not colonize the moon. So they are great at like answering your questions. They know, like, they're experts in their field, right? So they know what's new, what's trending, but then they also know obscure titles and backlist books. So you can like engage them in conversation about anything and they'll be able to help you, right? And you don't get that from when you shop online. Number 2, the ambiance, right? I want you to think of your favorite independent bookshop. You walk in and there's like such a great atmosphere there, whether it's trendy or modern or cozy. I think like scrolling through a website is not the same as walking through a darling little bookstore. sipping on a coffee, chatting with other customers, and most importantly, picking up those titles that catch your eye, right? I don't think there's a substitute for that. Shall I continue to number 3? Number 3.
Absolutely, he said,
local
unmuting his microphone. Yes,
Yeah.
by all means.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Okay, so number 3, and this one is really important, and I don't think people think this through. Your local bookstore curates its inventory to serve your own community. And what I mean is, like, if you're at a Barnes & Noble in Alaska, for example, it's going to look a lot the same as a Barnes & Noble in Wisconsin or in Florida. I would say, you know, the displays and the books available are basically the same, but that's not the case at your local independent bookshop. They actually curate their inventory to ensure that what they have is satisfying our needs. So I think of Lake City Books, for example, in Madison, which is one of my favorite bookstores. They have an incredible Wisconsin authors table. You can find so many books, including my own, on that table. They also have great cookbooks specific to Wisconsin and the Midwest. Another shop in Madison, which is my favorite, is Mystery to Me, and they carry Wisconsin hiking books. So these are titles that you won't necessarily be able to find, you know, at other bookshops. All right, let's talk the economy. Number 4, local independent bookshops support the local economy. So I did some research, and for every dollar spent at a small business in the U.S., about 67 cents stays in the local community versus only about 45 cents when shopping at a big box store, such as Barnes & Noble. If you purchase through a large online retailer, that returns basically $0 to the local economy. I would also like to point out that large online retailers are not supporting like Little Betsy's baseball team or contributing to the local fundraisers like your bookshop is. So bookshops give back to our communities, our schools, our nonprofits. Speaking of community, number 5, bookshops promote community engagement. You know, they host events for authors and book clubs and story time, and they foster such a strong sense of place and belonging. I think they're safe, nurturing places to hang out with super cool people, right? And last but not least, number 6, by shopping at your local independent bookshop, you're helping the environment because in general, you're reducing your carbon footprint when you shop in store rather than having your books shipped to you. So those are my 6 reasons, and there are so many more.
I was going to say I'm sure there's more, but that really did cover a lot of them. So talk about Saturday, the last Saturday in April being Independent Bookstore Day. You know how this got started and what kinds of things folks could expect.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited to talk about this. So it's a national one-day party held the last Saturday in April every year, and it celebrates indie bookshops across the country in store and online if you can't get to one. So this year, as you said, it's Saturday, April 26th, and it's the 12th annual celebration with more than 1,400 bookstores across all 50 states participating. So there was a woman out in California, she's a writer and an editor, and she started it back in 2014. And now it's coordinated, I think she still has some oversight in it, but it's primarily coordinated through the ABA, which is the American Booksellers Association. And the event is for booksellers who belong to the ABA and the Regional Independent Booksellers Association. So in our case, Pat, Wisconsin falls under the Midwest Independent Booksellers Association. 9 states, more than 300 shops are participating on Saturday. There are so many fun things going on. I mean, in preparation for this conversation with you, I think I had like 10 pages of notes of what bookstores were doing. But in general, I would say look up your local independent bookshop if you live close to one, you know, on Facebook or go to their website and you can see specifically what they're doing. I would say in general, bookshops are offering freebies, special deals, special events, treats, other fun things. So if you need a gift for anyone in your life, or you want a gift for yourself, or there's a book you want to get your hands on, Saturday is the day to shop.
And what is this golden ticket Libro.fm thing that you mentioned as well earlier?
Yes. Okay, this is so cool. So I spoke to a lot of bookshops, and I would say most of them, if not all of them, are doing on Saturday what is known as the Golden Ticket Game, sponsored by Libro FM. If you don't know what Libro FM is, I'm going to tell you. So you can go to Libro FM to purchase your audiobooks if you like to listen to your books. But what you can do is you use their store finder to link your sale to a preferred independent bookshop so that that bookshop shares in the profit from your order. So Libro FM is hosting this golden ticket game, and this is so fun. So participating bookstores are getting this golden ticket. It's about 9 by 3 inches. So it's pretty noticeable, right? It's very like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Do you remember that? Like the golden tickets in the chocolate bars?
Oh, yeah.
But in this case, the golden tickets are going to be hidden in a bookstore. So there's going to be one ticket in each bookstore that's participating. And if you find that golden ticket on Saturday, you win 12 audiobook credits from Libro FM. So like you win like a year's supply of audiobooks. No purchase is necessary.
Wow.
Like how cool is that?
Yeah. I was looking at the Libro.fm Facebook page. They, of course, are playing this up as well. And but before they start celebrating the independent bookstores, they were marking National Library Week, and they have a post here that, thanks to, all of their members, they raised $55,000 in support of National Library Week. So definitely a group that's dedicated toward, celebrating reading and shops and libraries and more.
Absolutely. And again, I love to see that community connection, right? They're giving back. They're supporting libraries. I think that's so important. They want to promote literacy. They want to celebrate readers. It's a win-win for everybody.
How would folks best go about learning about the independent booksellers that they may not know about, but if not in their community, maybe in a nearby community? Is there any particularly easy way to go about doing that?
Yeah, I wish I was on camera right now because I would hold up to you. I have the Midwest Independent Booksellers Association that I mentioned, MIBA. They, every year in celebration of Indie Bookshop Day, they put together this indie bookstore roadmap, and it is so cool. And I think if you went to their website, you could probably figure out where to get one if you don't live close to a shop. Otherwise, your local shop will have them this week and on Saturday. And it's a map of the Midwest region with all the states. And there is a hand-drawn illustration of each and every bookshop that's participating. So you open up this map, and it's gorgeous because you can see visually where all the bookshops are.
I've got it right in front of me here, Laura. Let me give the web address before we run out of time here. It is midwestbooksellers.org, midwestbooksellers.org. Laura, thank you for all the updates on this. I really appreciate it. Great to hear from you again.
Thanks, Pat. It's great to talk to you soon.
You bet. Take care now. We'll wrap things up with Jane Matnier after this. You're up north.
Ways to grow a reading rainbow. I can be anything.
The secret show has become so secret that Greg doesn't even know about it. We've lost
I
Greg.
know you're here. I can hear you. I hear everything.
Is Jane there?
I'm here.
Okay. You guys, did you turn the lights off, or are you camera shy today?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to turn the camera. You can just say, "Hey, start your camera," to be all coy. All right, 5 seconds or so.
Let us check in now with Jane Matnair, who, along with Greg Bach, has Matnair on air 10 to noon today and tomorrow.
Yes.
And then that's it. I mean, not that they're going away. They're just that's it for 10 to noon. Then it's a 9 to 11 jam for them. Right
Following
after
the newly expanded Pat Kreitlow
3
show.
hours of this.
It's going to be great. You're going to be great.
Whatever this is. Thank you very much. Well, I'm looking forward to it in, much the same way you look forward to anything where you haven't completely done everything on your to-do list yet, but I'm sure we'll get there. We'll get there, right?
It's
Right?
going to be great.
Well,
You're going to
thank
be
you.
magnificent.
How was your Easter weekend?
Easter was very nice. Went over to my sister's and lots of food. And we have a couple little ones, 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. With the eggs and the plastic eggs and the searching for eggs in the rain. And then we had the big art board. And so we were spelling words, which was very exciting. And yeah.
We didn't do the outdoor Easter egg hunt for the 3-year-old and the 6-year-old, in part because we didn't want to put things out, the night or the evening before or the early morning, because there's been a bear in the neighborhood lately.
Oh, that's
and
right.
We thought let's not attract even more attention to what we've got out there. So there was a lot of indoor hunting around, which was still it's a lot of fun with the little ones. But I learned an important lesson with small children, and that is, do you remember the game Kerplunk? The one where with the tube and the marbles, you put all the sticks in, all the marbles are on top of the sticks, and you pull the sticks out one by one, and then the marbles come out, and you try not to get the marbles to come out. Anyway, Sherry loved that as a kid. And so she had a Kerplunk here. Our daughters, were kind of plus minus on it when they were young. I was plus minus on it. Okay. But she loved it. It was her favorite as a kid. We're with the 2 little ones, and in our living room is one of these really deep pile, shag rugs. It's really soft. It's really nice, but it's deep. And she brings up the Kerplunk game, and she sets it on this ottoman right there. And of course, the 2 little ones, they go crazy. They love that the marbles are dropping, and they're moving the marbles all over the place. And next thing I know, half the marbles are gone because the carpet is so deep.
Swallowing them.
Swallow them up. Yep. So we're feeling around, trying to find the marble. Okay, there's one. Hours after they left, I'd walk through, I'd step on another marble.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
Like Lego residuals.
It was not quite Lego, but still. And then one time I stepped and I'm like, oh, found another one. And I reached in and was like, no, I pulled out a jelly bean. I'm like, oh, this is not good if there's candy in this thing,
Months of discovery in your future.
We're going to have to lift it and shake it or something, because somewhere in there still is a peg from a cribbage board from a cribbage game one day. So I don't know. We might shake. A house guest might fall out that we completely forgot about. I don't know. But it was nice to have the little ones there. When you said you went to your sister's, now, is this a trade-off thing where sometimes you're making and hosting, or?
We don't host very often anymore, which is fine with me. I love showing up and bringing a dish and passing the dish, and then I have no problem helping with the dishes and all of those things. But my sister primarily has kind of taken over the majority of the holidays.
And that's always such a relief. I've got, one of my sisters has laid dibs on one of the family gatherings, and a sister-in-law has claimed dibs on another. It's like, that's their holiday to do things.
Nice.
To which we're like, yeah, that's good for you.
You can have it.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I can't have Thanksgiving. Oh, what am I ever going to do?
And there are just some people, I think, who really love they have the matchy plates and the special plates and the special, table setting. And I don't do any of those things. So I'm not like let's have it at Jane's. Yeah. Oh, it's going to be on paper plates, but I'll draw on them.
Yeah. That's what we got
dishes.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we unofficially have Easter, but and some we got a little bit of family, this past weekend. But I guess we're just far enough away from our families that it's we never get everybody under the roof. So every year it's like I feel like they're drawing straws. Like, okay, who's got to go to Pat and Sherry's this year? Who's got to drive to Chippewa Falls? But we got them in there, and well, Alicia's right on YouTube saying hosting prep can be exhausting.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
And it is.
definitely.
We refer to it as C&E, cleaning and entertaining, which often happens on Christmas and Easter.
Yep.
And so we're just like, oh, it's C&E time again. All right. Well, we're off the hook for a little while. Are you looking forward to what you got coming up on the show this week in your two different time slots?
Absolutely. Mr. Global, Matt Randolph, is going to be joining us today, Mondays with Mr. Global. He, of course, is an oil and gas industry expert, and he has enough facts and experience and firsthand knowledge to annoy everyone on all sides, which I find a unique and admirable quality.
Oh, yeah.
And then,
it's what you look for in anybody. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then we're going to talk to Versity.
Colleen McCarthy from Versity. Yep.
Colleen McCarthy from Versity. Yep. We're going to be talking to her today about organ donation and just how critically important that is. You want to have that little dot on your driver's license that you are an organ donor. It's a really easy thing to do, and it makes such a difference.
Oh, okay. All right. And then, of course, on newscasts and other shows throughout the day, I'm sure will be more said about Pope Francis passing away. Obviously, the big news of the day, and we're always following breaking news around this place as well. It's in the DNA. So, Jane, thank you. Yes, go ahead.
You're welcome. Just a suggestion, Pat. Toughen up those grandkids next year. Leave the eggs outside with the bear. See how they do on Easter morning.
Well, that's just it. I'm like, I don't want the bear thinking, oh, look at this Cadbury cream egg. It's got a creamy center. It's a small child. So we tried to avoid that this year.
You're
Thank
a
you,
good grand. You're a good
I
grand.
know. I'm doing my best here. Thank you. Have a wonderful day and a great week.
You too.
Greg, thank you for everything. See you in a couple hours on Matt and Air on Air. So, and thanks to all of you for being part of Up North News Radio. Again, today, tomorrow, 6 to 8 a.m. And then starting Wednesday, newly expanded time, 6 to 9 a.m. New name. We'll come up with new other gimmicks and more guests. It'll be a lot of fun. So hope you stick around for that. And the whole new lineup across the Civic Media Radio Network that starts with our show at 6 a.m. Wednesday morning. That'll do it for Monday. Enjoy it. We'll see you back here Tuesday morning, 6 a.m. here up north. Goodbye.